but it is very significant. It is an output of what they call a cadastral survey, which demarcates and defines each piece of land. Title deeds to diagram, and this is why our system of land registration is one of the best in the whole world. It is based on the survey of the land itself. It defines it. But apa kutoridrawa with some diagram and coordinates 35 degrees east and so apana, there's no doubt about the extent of land which is owned. Right by Zozo, permit you comply. Panfanota roads, Mukawana Kune, ma township asina road, or ma township asina sewer connection, or asina water connection. It means we violated the planning tool. There was no permit acquired. And this is why there's a problem. And I'm glad Marcelina and team are working on making sure that infrastructure is done, because that is the important planning tool that is required. Then, once you have done that, the conveyancer is able to then register the first title to land. But if it's state land, the dichotomy, communal land, or let me say urban land and land which is not urban. The various land, take away commercial land, is state land. Even communal land is state land. For state land to have title deed, the first thing, therefore, which I've taught you today, is that a diagram must be framed before it. You need to engage a land surveyor or drafter a diagram to define that piece of land. Then what does the state do? The state grants title. A conveyancer is not required. The state grants title. That's what happened in 1898. The first deed was a grant from the state after a land has been surveyed. But you now know that 1898, the whole land was like state land, but it was called crown land at that time because it belonged to the Queen. There's a case in 1919 which says the land belongs to the British Crown, is state land. That land has existed even up to now. There's now just a difference between land with title deeds and land without. So a deed of grant is the first title to any piece of land. Right? So all these processes means you are dealing not only with one person. You are not dealing with a conveyancer. You are dealing with the surveyor, you are dealing with the town planning, you are dealing with the municipalities themselves, the urban councils, the rural district councils. It gives them authority. If we don't clear rates, no, there's no transfer. So if you have not cleared your rates, the title deed is not registered. If you have not complied with certain conditions which we put there, the title deed is not registered. So it can take time, but the time varies from circumstances to circumstances. In a normal case where the title deeds are there, it's a straightforward thing, it can actually take us less than 3 weeks for a title deed to happen. But it depends on the circumstances. Can you allow me to finish by saying and to emphasize what Ed is saying? We have a revolution happening in our country, which is transformative value. Please understand this. There was resistance to title deeds. And thanks for this platform, Rejoice. Including, as Mr. Shtu said, agricultural land. The fact that now someone can get title to their own piece of land and pay for it is transformative in nature. And this is the time we go out and conscientize people that look, get title deeds. There's value in a title deed. I was one of those people campaigning since the beginning of land reform against the whole process. Because I was saying, look, when the colonialists came, they took land and gave title to people, a deed of grant. But you people, you are giving them an offer letter, which they can't go to a bank and borrow it. But I'm glad to say, as I sit before you, I have a Damascene moment, because now people have listened to myself and Rumbi, telling them that you need title deed for your land, so that you can use it as security, but you must pay for it. Thank you, Rejoice.
When Lloyd speaks, you normally just, when I first heard him speak, I was like, I phoned him, where is this knowledge? Go and buy my book. So I went to buy his book, and I still don't get satisfied with this information. It's brilliant. I mean, this is kind of information that members of parliament and ministers and local board secretaries should have on their fingertips. So that when Banama Velas Kumaro, Nana Akili come to you to challenge you about processes, you have information, that these things are happening, But, right, this is the time to ask questions, yes? Oh, yeah, Rumbi want to say something, but yeah. So, Mahobe, you just wanted it. You answered, yeah. Rumbi, is there anything you want to clarify before I go to the students?
Thank you. I just want to correct one misunderstanding. I do not work for Law Division. I am his competitor. I am a partner at Bemanika Watch. But in everything that he said, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think the question that I like, one of the speakers raised the term integrity. That is why you need a conveyancer. You need someone who knows what's happening, who understands the laws. You listen to him speak. We have to understand all the aspects of the law. All the experts sitting here, we've read every law that governs their work. So if you come to me and I need to as a conveyancer, to do my job as a conveyancer, I have to understand every aspect of the transaction, because Mr. Chitu's job is not to create the document, is to register it. So if you come and maybe the survey is not done properly, or if there are certain conditions that don't allow for that transfer, it's my job to then inform you of what's happening. But as to focus on integrity, I just want to add, you heard him say, not every lawyer is a conveyancer. I think that is what we are lacking in terms of information to members of public. When you are sick, you don't just walk into a random place, you actually either look for a doctor who somebody has dealt with, or that you know, and you seek to make sure that the person is actually a doctor before you entrust your life to them. It is important for the public to have that mindset when they are looking for a lawyer and a conveyancer to do their property. Unfortunately, our country has been bedeviled by bad apples in our profession. And people who are not in our profession will put out to be conveyancers when they are not. Because it is important to have that in-depth knowledge of what's happening for me to be able to deliver the service to you correctly. That's all I wanted to add. Thanks.
Right, we were told that there's this group of university students that are in land management, survey and all that. So perhaps they also have a comment or question to make.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, it is a revolution with a transformative value, as lawyer was saying. So my question is, obviously, this initiative has a lot of moving value, moving parts. That also brings opportunities. Now, as youth, as students, we are asking what are the opportunities that different RDCs, for example, we have Kwang, who are associated with RDCs, Zim Revival Generation, Rhine Metropolitan. What initiatives offer opportunities to youth pertaining to this theme of kind of this digitalization? Obviously, as youth, we want to chip in with our information, with our knowledge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bothwell. My question goes to the Dean's office. Given the historical challenges associated with the 99 years module and other tenure documents, particularly around security of tenure and enforceability, I want to ask, how can we ensure that the digital title documents won't fall into the same pitfalls that is following the other tenure documents? Because the title deed is something that is so important to ensure that you can use the land as a collateral, or you see that the 99 years it failed. And also other tenure documents, they failed that. So how can we ensure that the digital title documents, they won't fall into the same pitfalls? Thank you.
Yeah, one more, then we're going to have another round so that you can ask. Just ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I'll just highlight some of the things as students at the University of Zimbabwe we are doing. Right. So, with my colleagues here, we are studying a degree program toward in administration and management. You know, you is studying what is called geoinformatics. Right. So, that being said, he spoke something to do with the youth. So at the University of Zimbabwe, in our department of geomatics, we come up together as youth and students, and then we question ourselves, what can we do to actually contribute to the actual real problems that are happening around our school and outside, right? So what we did, we came up with sort of a society, should I say association, with Geospatial Society, right? So it's a student-led association, right, where we say, guys, together here, as students, let's come together, right, and see how best can we utilize in our like our language, in what we are studying, we spoke of geospatial technologies, right? By that I simply mean things to do with location, right? So I know what is somewhere, somehow, but that is you represent that a location somewhere, right? That is all about geospatial, right? So some students now, we are coming in the sheets. How best then can we come together and go and contribute to the industry with this knowledge of technology, GIS surveying, and informatics, right? So, pertaining to the question of my colleague, that how best then, as youth, can we now come to the industry and contribute? And I'm so glad that when we applied for this event, myself here, they accepted us to come on such a platform as this, right? And also, just to highlight some of the things that you are doing.
Just summary.
Thank you. Just to highlight, my colleague here is working on this final project, presenting blockchain, right? So that's where we are now highlighting how best it's a question that I'm posing to our panel. How best can now come to actually contribute as well to this land revolution?
We'll just send you the cast of chips to support me. Right, so we are coming back to a second round of questions. Are there any points that perhaps, I think we started with this registry?
Thank you for the questions. The question about the land tenure system. In Zimbabwe, we've got various land tenure systems. We are not saying we are no longer using the leasehold, but we have got the leasehold, the title deed is land tenure documents. But the title deed itself, we are saying it's more superior than to those ones. You were alluding to the 99-year lease and saying it has failed. It didn't fail, but we are upgrading. Because having a title deed, it's superior than having a 99-year lease. On 99-year lease, there were issues of appropriation. If you have read the agreement correctly, the 99 years agreement, there's a statement whereby the government can appropriate the land. But when you've got a title deed, you have to go through the courts for you to surrender the ownership of that land. So the title deed, we are saying it's more superior to those other security of tenure documents. But we are not saying they have failed, but we are saying it's more superior. The title deed itself, it's more superior because of what the components which it held. Then the other issue, I think, was of pitfall. I think the security tenure, the offer letters, the 99-year lease document, they haven't fallen into pitfalls, but we are simply upgrading to the title deed. The title deed, understand, it's a more superior document. It removes issues to do with disputes on land ownership. It brings itself clear boundaries. It got clear, you know, the extent of the property, how it is defined, and where your property, how your extent of a property is defined through the title deed itself. So basically, the title deed itself, it's a superior land tenure document than the 99-year lease, the leasehold. We still have the leasehold. Thank you.
Thank you for asking those questions. And Mr. Chitu, I agree with you entirely. Land rights, we have a hierarchical system of land rights, contrasted from what are called fragmented rights. Other scholars now are talking about fragmented real rights, because what we have in terms of our Roman Dutch law is a hierarchical system where ownership is at the top. Because ownership is the bundle of all rights that you can have on your property. There's no absolute ownership because of municipal laws and so on, but it is the highest form of real right that someone can have to land. The right to own it, to alienate it, to sleep on it, to do what you want on it, subject to the laws. That's the topmost right. Other rights are called rights less than ownership. Real rights less than ownership. That's where your servitude comes from. Mr. Chitu has talked about use of rights. The right to have to pass through someone's land, those are rights which are less than ownership. The right to occupy a lease is a right which is less than ownership. You go down, you can split the rights even into other inferior rights. Now, ownership is through registration in a deeds office under a title deed. This is why today, and thank you for calling us today, this is why we are talking about it, emphasizing a title deed, because that's the one at the top. If you receive something below it, you have rights which are less than ownership. Therefore, you can also have a document that embodies your right which is less than ownership, like a lease. Now, a lease of 10 years or more is called a long lease. And you can register it at the deeds office, but you don't register it on its own. Unotora list rako, rono register, roitwa endorse on the title deed. So you know it's bereka mana. You know berekwa nechi the title deed, because it's a right which is less than one. That's Mr. Chitu is saying ownership is more superior, because a lease is a right that derives from ownership, like a servitude and other rights which are less than ownership. So ownership is the most important. So what happened in land reform? What happened in land reform? Because my good friend Rejoice, we were not calling meetings like this. There was spontaneous, things being done, and without the law was actually following what was happening. So what happened is people then said, do leases and so on. Leases have always been there right from inception. I told you of 10 June 1891. A long lease could be registered in the deeds office because title deeds were there. But when we did our land reform, we simply said, let's have a lease. We are giving you a 99-year lease. When they came to us, I'm one of them, the bank said, can we give loans on this? I said, no, you can't. Because the basis of you getting a right in someone's land, which is a right less than ownership, is the right which you should be able to sell on the open market. Which, someone should come to you and say, you cannot farm, give me that land. Again, I go back to title deeds. Title deeds now enable you to do that. But a lease of that nature, which could not be registered. Why could it not be registered? Very briefly, my good people. It was because initially, there were no surveys of the land. You just gave a 99-year lease to someone, but there was no surveys of the land. Again, the list itself says, we take that land. If you don't comply with ABC, we take it on 3 months' notice. Now, some of you are farmers here. If your land can be taken on notice 3 months, when you have got your maize, your cotton, and so on in the land, for whatever transgression, including not putting a fence around the land. This is why banks were refusing to give loans on acquired agricultural land on the basis of 99 years. So they didn't, I'm not attacking them. I'm simply saying they didn't suffice for what is required for them to give real rights. Allow me, Joyce, I'm requesting to comment on the earlier question, title deeds when land was acquired. Do people who are holding on to their title deeds still own? Because they are there in the deeds office. If you allow me just 2 minutes to explain that, because it's very important. If anyone who is holding title deed and their land was acquired, I won't tell them to throw it away. They should have it, because your government, and I'm happy with the Second Republic, they've said people must be compensated for the land which was taken. The land reform exercise becomes final if there is compensation. And my reading of what government is saying is that, look, we have to compensate. That is why there was the global, it's called global agreement, right? But so what happens with the title deeds in the deeds office? Start of land reform, the law was evolving to deal with the situation on the ground. They said, we are going to gazette, it was called the Section 8 notice, which was given to say, okay, this land now belongs to the government. They proceeded, the matters were going to court. We even went to the Sadiq tribunal. Then what happened is they said, if it has been gazetted, if there's an endorsement on the deed, then that land no longer belongs to the previous owner. It now belongs to the government. Now, some people say that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. And you know what happened? The Constitution itself was amended, Section 16B, to say land which was gazetted and which was acquired and which was endorsed has become state land, vesting the president. Now, those sections, when you then voted for a new constitution in 2013, 95% of you voted for it. It then said that land which was gazetted, that land which was endorsed, that land which was in Section 16B now belongs to the state. That's Section 72. It no longer belongs to the person who owned it. It's now, those lands now which are being acquired now and being transferred to the people who have occupied the land are being transferred from government by virtue of the ownership acquired through endorsement. My apologies. But I thought that point needed to be made here. Thank you.
Yes, but somebody, I'm going to come to you now. Somebody asked about the breachability of digital titles. I mean, Eddie and his team are all over these universities talking about securitization.
Yes.
But young men is saying, are we still going to fall into the same trap of these title deeds being breached and being abused and being, of course, government?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's a point which we must emphasize. These people, Marceline and Eddie and their team, are good. You know what has changed is that if instead of using a paper-based system, running around with title deeds, some of you, they are under a pillow. Some of them, you dug a hole in your garden and you are storing them there. Some are kept at the bank, some are kept by lawyers. The simplest way of explaining it is we are transforming that from a paper-based, a manual system, as was said by Mr. Shtu, to an electronic system. We are long overdue. We started talking about it in 1998 to say we must have a digitized system, which deals with issues which my friend at the end there talked about. Fraud. We have cases every year in the courts about people now producing fake deeds because, with the copiers which are sophisticated, people are just simply photocopying. And there's please don't report me. What we are saying ends here. There's a way of getting an ID. I don't know where they are got, with a picture of the owner, but the person, with a picture of this person appearing before you, but with the details of the actual owner of the property. I don't know how it happens. Maybe you know. Are we together? There are heaps like this, I think Mr. Shtu, of fake deeds, which are paper-based. So now, and let me say this, because I don't think it was emphasized. Guys, If you are left behind Matosara, there are title deeds now. Myself and my colleague Rumi, we have been involved in now making digitized deeds for privately owned land. It's true with my title. Can in your land, you now can have title deeds which are digitized, which are more secure. Akaita semari, anima logo, anima watermark and so on. But did the roll which are read a paper because records are now online. Unotoriwana kana ukati ini nduda angu rakaprindwa nduda urara ndakaritsamira under the pillow kuti ndizive kuti zveshuwa ndeyangu. But otherwise we now have a system where everything now is going to be online. The second part of it is that now my title deeds. Okay, you now need now to move to have them also digitized. Mr. Chitu, I didn't want to say this because I may not have your authority. But I know these people have scanned the documents now. They are digital. Going back to 1982, going backwards. 1898, all those deeds are going to be electronic. So if you don't do it, you will never to Sarah. But I want to emphasize that, look, it will even be more secure as a system of records for title deeds. Thank you. I hope I've answered that.
Yeah. Right. Pachini Muvunzere. I will come to you, Dr. C.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Lloyd, you answered some of my questions that I did have. Thank you for that. But I still have, and I'll have a question for you at the end. Chairman, if you'll just allow me to make one or two comments and a concern, and then I do have a question. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the government. Title deeds are definitely the way forward. Throughout the world, that's what works, and it's been proven over and over. So it's the right road. My concern, though, is that we are told that a title deed is a guarantee of security and tenure, when currently that's not true. And you might say, well, why am I saying that? And obviously, as a white commercial farmer, I can talk about that. I've got a title deed that I bought, that I paid after independence, 20-year loan, I paid it off, and then government comes and says, we've cancelled it, and we're not paying you either. So that's a real question. Why I raise it, guys, make sure that that doesn't happen to you. You don't want government to come and say, Epworth, Chitingwiza, Mavuka, Madabililand, whoever it is, we're cancelling your title deeds. It's a real danger. A title deed should give you that security of tenure. And I don't know how you work around it, and I know governments can do it, but then it has to be done in a way where it's just and fair as well. So guys, title deeds is the right way, it's fantastic, but make sure that what happened to us doesn't happen to you. My question to you, Lloyd, if the minister was here, I was going to ask him, but he's not here. How are you going to handle it when someone comes to you for conveyancing of a certain property, yet it's in contention because someone else has a title deed that they believe is still valid? How do you, well, it's still contentious, so how do you handle that?
It seems as if he has started part of it, and then I need to continue with the issue of title deed. To me, after teaching land law for more than 15 years, a title deed is an output of power. So it matters what you define as land. So when I say a title deed is an output of power, I am talking of who are the players to the process of producing a title deed. So this is an output, it's a paper. It differs with what it is presenting on the land. This is just a paper, it's a model. So being a model, it drops out a lot of power relations. So the players that are existing today, we have the town planner, we have the land surveyor, we have the conveyancer, we have the owner of the parcel, we have municipality and so forth. So these ones being the players. Now I have my question on the $350 to the Kwangu Ngakwami, is it a housing scheme? Trust. We are saying, when we talk of tenure security, it is within this collaboration of the power that will define the security, because these are the security guards. They come together to build a secure system. They are saying at the end of the day, we are reliable, we can vote, we are assured to present our parts, and then the wall becomes the security. Okay, so with 350, we are talking of more than 10 players, and we are saying each gets $35. And in reality, for a survey in the residential suburb, it's way above to survey that piece of land. It's more than $3,000 if I may give an estimate, which means you have bought the power and you have said it's even more powerful to have a parcel that is surveyed at $7,000 than a parcel that has been surveyed at 350. Why? Because people who have made a survey for a 7,000 fee are voting to present that person when a dispute arises. And you're likely to have people unwilling, not caring when it comes to resolving a dispute for a piece of land which is worth 350. I'll tell you why. First, if it is a surveyor, what it means is they may have not committed their technical expertise to the full extent for the survey that has been done. That's one thing. You have heard them talking about geospatial technology, but they are also telling you that there is a wide range of technologies that have different specifications and accuracy. Okay? They have just told you that. That's the issue. They have also told you it matters who makes the technology. You see, I would value this bottle more than this one. I think you already know why, if you hold these things together in your hands. So I still want to know, where will 350 get us in the long run when it comes to tenure security? Because one thing you have to understand, tenure security is built in the process, not perceived as passive. It matters who has contributed, who is the player. In Nofuka, we have cooked sadza before. If sadza is cooked by a specialist, or if dishes that are outside there are being prepared by a specialist, I think you just pick and eat. Have you ever noticed that? Because you trust. So I'm seeing another thing that talks to who owns the land as something that has never been addressed very much in Zimbabwe. We are simply talking of rights, but we are not talking about the personality of the subject, the person who owns the land. What kind of personality, what kind of behavior, what kind of power role? The question that arose from the chief when he said, but if gold is found in the city, why is it's not so easy to hear the stories of a fiction? But it's so easy to hear the story of eviction where there are old grannies, where there are illiterate people, and so forth. Then the issue of where is the land, the survey. People are not talking of the distance to authority that assert or define the geometry of the power. We are not talking of the distance between this fragmented and manual system. The distance between the Surveyor General, even with Mufakos, even the distance accommodates corruption and all the plays, okay?
I see, Lloyd, we've got volume 2 of our book here about the power. I never actually understood, I never actually appreciated the way she's actually explaining the issues of the value chain, its length, and how it creates these power pockets. But I guess Eddie will deal with that a bit later.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chigwedere, and I'm a town planning technician with Zimbabwe DC. Firstly, I just want to, in a way, to say that our forum is incomplete because we do not have a surveyor. Whenever we are talking about title deeds, we should have, or any discussion, we should have the relevant professionals. Fine, we've got the town planners here, and we've got the lawyers, and I think we are missing a parting surveyor, because when we talk of title deeds, we speak to the due process of getting title deeds. Anyway, I've got two. Initially, when our speaker was speaking, when she started speaking, I had several questions. But at the end, most of them were then clarified by Eddie, and thanks for that. And then, so I just have maybe 2 or 3 areas to contribute to this discussion. We are coming from the town planning profession. I'm also coming from a rural district, from local authority sector, and where in my operations, I deal with urban and rural. And also, I live both in urban and rural. So I will speak from those positions. But I also try and translate it into English for the benefit of our colleagues. So the first one is when I think is it Maslin? When she spoke about the trust, the Kwangu trust. I was a bit confused, but I got clearer vision of the trust in a way. I'm yet to know about it, and maybe preach the gospel. But from your presentation and from Eddie's then clarifications, I have got 1 or 2 questions regarding your trust. In my opinion, it appears that you operate from what we call informal sectors, informal settlements in terms of planning, which has its own challenges. Because if you look at Dombosha or Epworth, you will find that from a town planning perspective, from a surveyor perspective, you cannot operate properly because those are unplanned settlements. We would prefer to say title deeds are issued on planned settlements where due process has been started. So I think in a way you are trying to recognize that. That's in our terms. And then the other little question that I may need clarification is you then talked about the service provision or infrastructure provision, which is problematic in those areas or where informal settlements, where people settle first before services are provided. Just to conclude on that one, I would be comfortable in supporting title deeds to be issued to areas like Mbare, Highfield, where they are properly planned, and yet we have people who do not have deeds. Okay? And maybe that's a topic for another day. Then toda kudzokera kumadzimambo edu, tine problem yataurwa na our lawyer said there's a topical issue about these sub-deals, which personally in my village we are trying to discourage. By the way, my village is 88 kilometers from Harare, and we know that in the next 15 years, our village might be like Seke, it might be like Epwell, it might be like Dombosha. But because we are coming from a background of people who don't want order, who don't want disorder, we are saying no to these sub-deals. We know they're happening. So Anamambo, Trukuti, I know in my local authority there are these permits. And I think in Urungwe, where you come from, Hariko, I think you have to be very careful when we issue these permits, because we are going to issue these permits to people who have benefited from illegal sub-deals. Because on the ground, what happens on the ground is munu anoenda unotenga munda makomiti ariko ari mazuva anaya imama masabhuku acho who are dubious in our opinion. The moment aenda kuna mambo nerespect nokuwa mambo achapuwa paper. Now for us to say it's illegal, we will have a problem. So that's something to think about. And then I want to go to, I think someone raised the issue about can you trust the deeds office? Finally, I've been told to wind up. I just want to go back to the deeds office. We just learned from the deeds registry that they don't prepare deeds. And yeah, maybe some of us knew that, but they register. But as we progress, I've been practicing the past 33 years in planning. We've realized that, and as you research, that the deeds that were issued long back in the 70s are different in terms of detail. They are different. And some people might not know why I'm bringing this up, but they are different to the deeds that are coming out today. For example, quickly, when you are talking about change of use, you are looking at conditions which are in the title deed. That's what you are changing. But after time, if you look at the deeds of today, they will refer you to the parent deed, which the parent deed you might not even find, or it's very difficult to find. So we personally asking as a profession that let's go back to deeds which are very detailed to an extent whereby you can even include building lines on the title deed. Thank you.
Well, it's a stack of questions. First of all, I'll deal with the question of survey costs. That's very simple. No title deed is issued without a properly qualified surveyor having produced a diagram. And there are 70 registered surveyors in Zimbabwe, and the deeds office and ourselves and the surveyor general work with all of them. And where we go into an area like Epworth, which is totally informal, has been totally informal, which is now being systematically planned in retrospect, we have employed, the surveyor general has employed surveyors to conduct the surveys of these individual plots. We have negotiated with the industry the costs involved. And we are paying, in Chitungwiza, we are paying $70 for every single survey to a professional surveyor who then is supervised by the surveyor general and who produces the drawings for each individual title. So that's not an issue. Where the costs of survey are more than this, what we're trying to do, we are trying to provide poor people with title deeds. That's our job. The trustees of the Kwangu do not draw any money. We don't even get paid expenses. We do this totally pro bono. We are trying to provide title deeds for the least cost. In Epworth, we have about 4,000 settlements, which are quite large, 4,000 square meters or more. In those areas, the title deed, the survey has been done professionally at a cost of about $700 per deed. On the question of, so that's across the board. On the question of planning, these informal settlements, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, Google Harare today. Let me challenge you. Google Harare, Google Goromonzi, or Google Dombashawa, or Google Seke. Everybody's allocating land in Seke. The councillors, the sub-books, the chiefs, they're all selling land. I mean, it's crazy. You can travel from Harare for more than 40 kilometers in Seki, and it's just housing on both sides of the road. No planning, no roads, no water, no sewage, nothing. And it involves hundreds of thousands of people. Chilingwiza, the official city, is 76,000 houses. Seki is over 250,000. We've counted them on Google. So Seki is not 376,000 people, which is in the national statistics. It's over 2 million. Seki is by far and away the second largest city in the country. Go to Goromonzi. Just have a look at it. Just have a look at Dombashawa. Dombashawa, you could almost drive to Bindura, and it's housing. And every direction you see, this is going on. And I can't agree more with my colleague from Zumba. We have to have some discipline in this process. And what we are trying to do, we are starting with all the planned areas that need title. So we're starting there. And that's Southview Park, that's Cardry Park, that's Epworth, that's parts of Chilingwiza. On the question of service provision, before we grant title, we have to have a plan for an area which provides all the necessary basic services. The historical policies here in Zimbabwe have been that when you bought a piece of land in an urban area, you paid the local authority for service provision. When I bought a piece of land in the township in Beitbridge, I bought it for $5,000, which I paid to the local authority for service provision, road, water, and sanitation. We can't do that with these poor people. They don't have the money. So we have to provide that. And we persuaded the government we will give people title deeds, providing they sign a guarantee to pay for the cost of services. We then raise the money. The average cost of servicing a 200 square meter stand is $3,700. It's a bit more in other places, but we are insisting that before a person gets a title deed, they sign a guarantee that they will pay for the cost of servicing. And where that is done by an entire community, we come in with the yellow machines and we do the service provision. And we'll do it properly. We'll do it properly. And in that way, we will gradually, because this is a hugely expensive program, gradually we will improve the living standards of settlements across the country. On the question of illegal settlements in areas, that's something which the government simply have to deal with. On the question of records, every title deed issued by the Deeds Office from today onwards, and all 1.3 million existing title deeds must be replaced in the next 2 years, all of them. So if you own a property in the urban areas, you've got to get on your bicycle, find a lawyer, and submit your title deed for replacement. When you get your new title deed, on the title deed will be what do you call that damn thing? A QR code. You click on a QR code you will see the entire history of your property. Every owner, when changes took place, all the details, all the historical details. We spent 6 years, the digitalisation. We've spent 6 years researching your title deed and recording it digitally. And you'll have that on your title deed. And all new title deeds will have exactly the same thing. And the title deed will be secure. Where it's registered, you cannot duplicate that. The other thing too is trying to make it simple and quick. If you Google Kwango on your phone, it'll come up and tell you how to apply for a title deed. On your phone. You can make application on your phone. And in every area where we're operating, we have field offices. Eventually the deeds office will have an office in every province. But we will have an office in every district. Every district where we are operating. I don't know how many we'll have eventually, probably 300 or 400. But we can do that because we are the private sector. And we are funding that. We're making it happen. We're managing it. But we work with and under the deeds office. The deeds office is the one that issues the title deed. It's not us. All we do is all the mechanical stuff. As far as the role of the lawyers, one of the biggest sources, let me tell you, the insurance industry would not exist in this country without third parties motor insurance. And when the government made Zinara connect a third party insurance, they took $150 million away from the insurance industry. I don't know how the guys survived. It's the same with the legal profession. Monitoring and managing the transfer of property is one of the key incomes of the legal profession. And the rates charged on that process are thousands of dollars per property matter. Thousands of dollars per property. Our people can't afford that. So we've done a deal with the legal profession. We haven't ignored them. We recognize they have a role to play. They're essential players in the whole process. We've done a deal with the, what do they call the damn thing? The lawyers? No, not the conveyancers, the legal profession. Law Society. It's been approved by the Ministry of Justice, and we have a standard rate now for the legal process that's involved in the transfer of ownership. So we are respecting totally the legal and professional basis of this document. On the question of whether or not a title deed is secure, one of the main issues in the international community is security of property rights. Why? Because if a government can take a property away from an individual without compensating them, it undermines the entire banking industry of the world. The crisis in the financial sector 10 years ago, which most countries in the world, the biggest market in the world is bonds based on land. It's by much bigger. It's 10 times the size of the stock market. It's number one in the world. It's how the world finances the economy. And one of the reasons why you cannot have an agriculture without security of tenure is because our farmers can't borrow any money. When I was chief economist of the Agricultural Marketing Authority, we used to provide commercial farmers with nearly $2 billion a year in short-term crop financing. That's how we grew the crop. Today, you know how much maize we grew this last year? 400,000 tons. You know what Zambia grew? 4.4 billion. What did South Africa grow? A record crop. Why? Why? One word, money. They could borrow the money to do the job. They can't do that without security of title. And in urban areas, when I say we are going to create $200,000 to $300,000 million of property value, let me tell you, that's in the hands of millions of Zimbabweans. One of the most emotional things I've done for a long time, I sat next to the president when he gave our title in Epworth. and walked up to me, walked up to the president to receive her title, was a woman with her kids, single parent woman, getting her title. And you know, boy, when I saw what that did there, I was raised by a single mother with 4 kids, and our municipality in Bulawayo gave us a start in life with the house which we could buy, lease to buy. I can tell you what a difference that made to us. And for me this is not right, just this is something I'm passionate about. And Baba, can I just issue one other challenge?
Yeah, one more.
Siku, Mambo. When I grew up in Madabila, my chief was Chief Sigola, and we ranched at Mbalabala. I was born at Umzinyatini. Okay? I want to challenge you, and I want to challenge your colleagues. This is an African country. You are the custodians of the land. When my forefathers came here, we took the land away from you with guns. Okay? Independence gave the land back to you. You need to exercise that authority. We are Africans. We are not Europeans. We need to understand what we are. I fear for our children because they don't recognize that anymore. They think they're Marungus. Okay? We are Africans. I want to challenge you through the Chiefs Council. Take charge. You need to be supervising the rural district councils. You need to be controlling land throughout the rural areas. All the commercial farming land should come under your jurisdiction. You are the land authority. It's in the Constitution. And I think you guys are sleeping.
No.
Mambo.
No. It's because you don't listen to us when you are giving directives.
Sikuru, if we can help you in the trust.
Listen.
If we can help you in the trust. Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
You don't listen to us when you are giving directives.
Yeah.
When you are in areas of jurisdiction. If you listen, if you respect our words, I'm sure everything should be in the right. If you listen to us when we are giving directives in our area of jurisdictions, I'm sure everything will be in the right direction. But the challenge that we are facing, you don't respect the chiefs, you don't listen to us. That's the problem. And it seems like you are one of them, because how can you say to a chief, you are sleeping when you are speaking to a person like me? It's not good. Withdraw that.
I know that.
Can you please withdraw that?
Yes, I do withdraw.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, this might be a very intellectual forum, but we still have a hierarchy of authority. Right. But here's apologize to you. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see that we are on a trajectory that can never end. We understand the complications, the emotions, and the processes. I mean, Kerry here and Dion are talking on behalf of commercial farmers. They were asking genuine questions, right? The deeds registry responds, Mr. Mishi responds. You can see that we Zimbabweans, we have a capacity of reconciling this thing. But at the end of the day, we need to feel secure. When I'm in Zimbabwe, when I'm in Shurugwi, I want to feel safe, that I'm in a place that nobody can take away from me. Whether it is a Chinese or an Indian or whoever, Murungu, or another person like me who has more power than I have. Like she talked about power. Power seems to be a problem in terms of managing land. So we need to find a way of reconciling all these things so that we become comfortable, because the land gives us value, it gives us integrity and wealth. We don't value that kind of a person. Why? Because they don't have anything. But Mishi says ownership without title is not ownership at all. Is that what you say? Yeah, because it is, right. So what we want to do now, because we are moving behind time, our chiefs have to go back to their areas.